Thank you for having me here present. So I come from Helsinki energy company, so the Helen, called Helen, and I will talk about nuclear and district heating applications. So the company I represent is called Helen, founded 100 years ago by the city of Helsinki and still is owned fully by the city of Helsinki. We are in, if you count in customers and in volume sold electricity, we are the second biggest electricity utility in Finland after Fortum, and in district heating we are clearly the biggest, and we own the district heating network in Helsinki. Also we own, for example, 10% of the Olkiluoto power plant that by Helen, so that's who we are. Helen is investing now quite much. I will a little bit tell about our strategy and where we are going, but investments are done very much. 400 million last year. This year it will be even more than that, significantly more this year. So currently heavily investing in the green transition. Our strategy now in the short term, we still will be burning coal next winter. We have one coal-fired power plant, but that will be the last winter. After that, we will be abolishing coal, getting rid of that totally. So after that, we will be reliant on we have bio-fired power plants, pellets, and then we will have electrified solutions for the district heating. So this will be the solution for us after that. So we are now, what we are investing in currently is electric boilers, for example, and so when the electricity is cheap, we have quite often nowadays in Finland we have almost we have negative prices or close to zero prices in the electricity market. So then we use the electricity for heating water. So that's something that we are in the Finland going towards now. It's not only in Helsinki, it's almost all the district heating companies in Finland is currently going towards that direction. It might sound strange that you use electricity for just heating water nowadays, but it's something that we have come to now with quite much wind in the national grid, and so we have high fluctuation in the electricity grid and consequently also in the pricing of that. Of course, now this is, I think it will have a stabilizing effect on the price, this electric boilers. It will start to even out or eat up these very low prices of the electricity actually. So in that sense, good for some at least. Yes, so that's now, and so in the middle term, we already 2030 we have the target to be carbon neutral. We will get so by 2030, but the big target or the big challenge is 2040 when we will be combustion free. Our aim is to become combustion free to support the biodiversity and totally abolish also the biomass power plants, or let's say for some limited kind of backup for the very peak loads to be using that anymore in the future. And for this reason, then we from Helen now we are interested in nuclear for district heating, or actually there is not very many other options available even. The other option is to be very much reliant on the electricity, but we want to diverse in the sense that we are not fully dependent on the electricity. And also it's not so easy that neither to go very much further than we plan now, because the limitations of the electricity distribution and the electricity grid starts to become very challenging already with this kind of electricity consumption that we will have in 2030. So in the Helsinki region, to get enough electricity for the electric boilers and other things, it will be a challenge. So that's why we are now going for nuclear. That's our primary option, and we will be looking at both CHP solutions, producing electricity and heat, and then this kind of pure heat options as well, so that have dedicated heat reactors. So what would the role of nuclear be then in our production of district heating. This is a kind of schematic picture of how the heat consumption looks like in a Finnish city, generic Finnish city during the year. So we have very much consumption during the winter, in summer a little bit, but not. It's a fraction of what we need during the peak in the winter. So almost only a tenth approximately is the consumption during the summer compared to the peaks during the winter. But we still need during the summer as well for different applications, at least for heating water, if not anything else. So kind of household waters and such things. But for this base, there will be waste heat and other sources that will be covering this. That's kind of the cheapest heat solutions. So with different kind of waste heat streams, maybe using heat pumps in between, we will get, but not always. We have also direct sources. But anyway, we can cover this kind of base of the heating needs. Currently, we have then a slice here that is done by combustion. So a little bit coal still. Next winter after that, it will be biomass. And then this peaks. We have the electric boilers I mentioned. We have also storage. Extend that as well. And also now we will be still using fossil gas for some time. So for these peak loads, that's CHP plants, rather large CHP fossil plants. But these are, because of the expensive gas, it's only really in the peaks used nowadays. So then the nuclear, where it comes in, it's here in between where it would be the taking role. So it would kind of displace combustion towards the peaks, and then we would have in the really highest ends of the peak, there would still be this kind of electric boilers storage in future. No more fossil gas CHP, but still this would be really the peak. Nuclear is of course we would during the winter or the cold months it will be running on the full throttle producing heat. Then we have something like 3 months during the autumn, spring, summer, autumn period where we would need to be adjusting it depending on the size now of the implementation of how large capacity we will have for the district heating. And that's of course something where we would have of course the outages during the summers, but there might be also otherwise, or there certainly is otherwise also a reason to run the plant up and down. So for a CHP plant, it would be producing rather much electricity during these months. For the heat only, probably they would be just waiting, stand by some of the plants during these months, or some of the reactors. There is the possibility to totally replace the combustion with the nuclear as well. It's kind of a possibility. It's nothing unfeasible if you look at it from economical perspective, but it's more about the kind of reliability question that we need to have. We cannot rely on one source for too much of the heating production. We need to have a backup always to one type of production. So if we have too large share of nuclear, the backup also will be huge, and that starts costing too much. So that's kind of the reason to limit the share of nuclear to something half or less than half of the whole kind of capacity. Yes, and based on now we thought about the strategy, a little bit what nuclear would be. So based on this, Helen has now decided to start a nuclear program. That has been my task. I started in January at Helen and been developing the nuclear program now, and we will be going now step by step forward towards the implementation of nuclear for the district heating. So this is kind of decided, and as told, this is our primary option now. So we go forward really seriously with this Now what we do now in the first stage, we have what we call a preparation stage now that will take approximately 2 years. There are especially three things we want to fix during the preparation phase. So the business model is one thing. So will we do only heat? Will we do heat and electricity? And is somebody joining us as investors in this project? So now that is something that we are, as we speak, working on now, these co-investors and negotiating with possible partners for the project. And this will of course then affect also this possible shareholders and co-investors, and the business model will influence on the plant concept then. And that is something that we are now preparing in parallel here. The plant supplier selection, it will be most likely a public tendering. So this is now a process that takes some time to prepare, careful planning. We are working on that now as well. We will of course we will be looking at only light water reactors, some with mostly with proven solutions, traditional solutions, nothing exotic in that sense. We want to do on that side. We want to simplify things. So there is practically there is kind of, let's say, two options. Then there is this heat only. There is a few companies nowadays or projects developing heat only reactors. We have the Finnish Steady Energy, but there is also some other from foreign project on that respect that is developing heat only reactors. So that's kind of one way to go, and the other is then this CHP plants called SMRs in the scale of few hundred megawatts of electricity capacity, which is the other option then that we are focusing on now. And then the third thing is the site. This is a challenging thing. Of course, we want to have the plant very close to the district heating network, and so find a suitable spot is not too easy. Stuk has been very helpful. Now they have updated the regulation. Now previously there was an explicit demand of a 5-kilometer emergency planning zone. Now there is a radiation dose limit, so it's up to us now to take the responsibility and calculate and evaluate and propose what we think would be the appropriate emergency planning zone around the plant, and that is something that we are working on. But still, it's not Helsinki region around the city, and going outside also to neighboring municipalities. It's quite densely populated, and there is different kind of land use plan restrictions and other things. So it's not very easy to find a suitable spot that is close enough still. But we work on that. Yes, and of course these are the three main targets now for this first step, but in parallel we need to look at other things like well, organizational development of Helen. Need to transform from well, Helen has long experience of running conventional power plants, or very much competences in that respect, but there is a certain transformation anyway needed to become really a nuclear licensee and responsible for the safety. Financing questions is of course something to take care of as well. Helen is rather stable and a trustworthy company in that sense, so certainly will be of interest to financiers our project. And then these long-term questions, operation of the plant, how we'll solve that. Strategy is something that we work on, and the waste management. Operation is, as example, currently we look at different strategies there. Do we go for the, let's say, the track that we develop an operating organization fully in-house, and we will have that in our own hands, or do we have some partner taking a big role during the operation, or something in between? That's what we are doing there. A little bit similar on the waste management side as well. And this is the full program, and we go step by step forward now. So it's approximately 2 years now for the preparation phase. Then the rest depends very much on the plant supplier and their kind of capacities, their plans, what the strategy or how long it will take after that. Of course, a little bit on the on the regulators and authorities as well, but I would say that the main driver of the schedule after that is anyway really the project itself. We have I think that's a strong big benefit in Finland now that we have rehearsed these licensing processes and permitting processes for nuclear, so the authorities are experienced in this respect. So we know rather well how long it will take and how to run these processes with the regulators and the different authorities. So that's not really a big concern here. It's more about now really to find a good constellation to implement this project. So that's the biggest thing. And then how do we run it through? I think that's kind of fair to say that the Finnish projects has been challenging the implementation. I think that at this point where we are now, everything has looked good. So financially and from safety perspective, everything probably have looked good in both projects in this early phase. But then really how to get it done is the challenge. So that's I think for the project the biggest challenge for our project as well. All right, and this is how the plant could look like then in 10-15 years.
Presentation. Do we have any questions, comments? Yeah, there are some of them. So yeah, please go ahead.
So as a result from CEA, I would have a question. Maybe you mentioned it, so I missed it. On the business model aspects, what is the impact on the cost of heat, finally for the consumer of operating the SMR maybe at 2/3 of its full load capacity? You mentioned that during the spring, summer, autumn season, the load factor will be quite strongly reduced. So what is the impact on the cost of this? Did you already assess that?
Yes. Yeah. I would say that on currently, and if you look at the alternatives and alternative methods for producing the heat, the electricity or the heat price looks, and the economics of the heat looks kind of still very good for the nuclear heating. Of course, it will then depend on that. Do we need to go very far from the city, the district heating piping to build it very far away? It will be expensive, and it start reducing the business case, and other factors can kind of reduce the business case. But for now, it looks kind of rather okay, the business case still with this, even though the plant would be in standstill for long periods.
Yeah, we have another question.
I have one question, if I may, from Mr. Gabriel from KT. I would like to ask you, from your point of view, your perspective of the utility point of view, how research projects like SEED may support you on may support your strategy, or which are your wishes, or what is your idea or visions, how to better connect our work with your work, with your strategy, which is of course straightforward. So clearly, because it depends on a lot of money.
But I think that it's a very good plan Ville have set up here, and you have set up for the same project. But many of the things that you have here is very closely or almost directly somehow supporting. Well, there was the safety aspects for district heating, and also for other industrial applications. Actually, that is something I didn't mention it, but of course we have Helen is also, we are done an investment decision on a hydrogen plant. We will start producing hydrogen in a few years. So that's not totally excluded that if we go to the combined heat and power production, that there would be some industrial application very close to the plant. So these kind of things are very interesting for us as well, absolutely, and will support directly.
And actually there is also this kind of historical narrative with the people who have been invited here, because originally when we started with the nuclear hydrogen research, it was with my colleague Ville Salderi, who is nowadays at Helen, who was working on initial steps, I guess, to this. And we also got this funding for the first projects by Business Finland, which was and Pia Salokoski was actually one of the initiators on that side there. And Helen had been in our early projects as a part of project group. So we have been kind of like, especially when there is kind of this looking for options phase, it seems that this kind of collaboration with the industry and research has been very valuable. And at least I kind of hope and foresee that when Helen and their project goes forward, there will be also, of course, work for research to be done at various points.
Like, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yhdistystyvä Research to the public. I have some question concerning the legislation in Finland of application of such small reactor. Are there any limitations for the emergency protection zone for the siting of such a small reactor? Because usually for SMRs it's expected that that will be very small on the border or on the fence of the site, but and will be located close to the buildings. Is there legislative requirements from?
So, to correct me then if I'm wrong, but currently Stuk updated in, I think in January, February, the regulatory guidance on this emergency planning. So nowadays it's a dose limit that defines that if this dose limit is kind of expected to exceed within 2 days or something, then you need to, this is the size of the emergency planning zone. So within this area, if this kind of worst case accident scenario, the dose limit is expected to exceed within what is the area, then that's the kind of emergency planning zone. And then you need to be able to effectively evacuate the emergency planning zone. So practically that is kind of
yeah, so basically licensee proposes something and then they justify that, okay, this fulfills the requirements. And you can propose 5 or 2 or 0 or whatever, as long as you can justify it.
Thank you.
This is really a recent change, as Janne said, so maybe February or something like that.
So was it 1 grave is expected to be exceeded within 2 days or something? That's
remember that numbers.
Okay. Yeah.
From the audience, do we have any questions online?
Basically the same ones that here.
Okay, so they have been answered. Thank you very much.